What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. We got some major news for you guys here in this video, including Israel calling on the United Nations chief to step down because of what happened here earlier. We got a lot here going on. Check this out. The U.S. will be sending 2 Iron Dome batteries to Israel for self-defense against missile strikes. Check this out. The Pentagon plans to send 2 Iron Dome missile defense systems to Israel as the country continues to shoot down missiles fired at it from the militant group Hamas. The Defense Department officials confirmed, quote, the U.S. will be flowing additional Iron Dome support to Israel. These are missile defense systems. The United States has these as well and would use these if we were getting attacked with missiles as well. Quote, as a result, the Department of Defense is currently engaged in planning to support the provision of U.S. Iron Dome batteries to Israel. The confirmation that 2 systems would be sent but would not say under what terms the batteries will be provided or whether they would be returned to the U.S. if undamaged by the end of the war. Israel in 2011 first activated the what is called Iron Dome, an advanced rocket defense system that has intercepted thousands of rockets fired from militants within the Gaza Strip. The Iron Dome has been seen as all the more critical to Israel since October 7th, when Hamas coordinated and launched land, air, and sea attacks that has killed more than 1,400 Israelis, and Hamas has fired over 7,000 rockets towards Israel and continues to do so to this day. This is a big reason on why Israel is calling on the United Nations chief to resign and step down after calling for a ceasefire with Hamas, because Hamas is still continuing to attack Israel. Take a look at what the United Nations chief said here earlier.
The situation in the Middle East is growing more dire by the hour. The war in Gaza is raging and risks spiraling throughout the region. Divisions are splintering societies, tensions threaten to boil over. At a crucial moment like this, it is vital to be clear on principles, starting with the fundamental principle of respecting and protecting civilians. I have condemned unequivocally the horrifying and unprecedented 7 October acts of terror by Hamas in Israel. Nothing can justify the deliberate killing, injuring, and kidnapping of civilians or the launching of rockets against civilian targets. All hostages must be treated humanely and released immediately and without conditions. And I respectfully note the presence among us of members of their families. Excellencies, it is important to also recognize the attacks by Hamas did not happen in a vacuum. The Palestinian people have been subjected to 56 years of suffocating occupation. They have seen their land steadily devoured by settlements and plagued by violence, their economy stifled, their people displaced, and their homes demolished. Their hopes for a political solution to their plight have been vanishing. But the grievances of the Palestinian people cannot justify the appalling attacks by Hamas, and those appalling attacks cannot justify the collective punishment of the Palestinian people. Excellencies, even war has rules. We must demand that all parties uphold and respect their obligations under international humanitarian law, take constant care in the conduct of military operations to spare civilians, and respect and protect hospitals, and respect the inviolability of UN facilities, which today are sheltering more than 600,000 Palestinians. The relentless bombardment of Gaza by Israeli forces, the level of civilian casualties, and the wholesale destruction of neighborhoods continue to mount and are deeply alarming. I mourn and honor dozens of UN colleagues working for UNRWA. Sadly, at least 35 and counting, killed in the bombardment of Gaza over the last 2 weeks. I owe to their families my condemnation of these and many other similar killings. The protection of civilians is paramount in any armed conflict. Protecting civilians can never mean using them as human shields. Protecting civilians does not mean ordering more than 1 million people to evacuate to the south, where there is no shelter, no food, no water, no medicine, and no fuel, and then continuing to bomb the south itself. I'm deeply concerned about the clear violations of international humanitarian law that we are witnessing in Gaza. Let me be clear, no party to an armed conflict is above international humanitarian law. Excellencies, thankfully some humanitarian relief is finally getting into Gaza, but it is a drop of aid in an ocean of need. In addition, our UN fuel supplies in Gaza will run out in a matter of days, and that would be another disaster. Without fuel, aid cannot be delivered, hospitals will not have power, and drinking water cannot be purified or even pumped. The people of Gaza need continuous aid delivery at a level that corresponds to the enormous needs, and that aid must be delivered without restrictions. I salute our UN colleagues and humanitarian partners in Gaza working under hazardous conditions and risking their lives to provide aid to those in need. They are an inspiration.
Also of some concern to NATO, Turkey's president says Hamas is not a terrorist organization, cancels their trip to Israel, showing once again that Turkey is not an ally of NATO. And Hamas is not a terrorist organization, even though they attacked Israel out of the blue with over 2,000 missiles, now over 7,000 missiles total, and cancels their trip to Israel. Israel, an ally of NATO, and having blocked Sweden from coming into NATO for a long, long time, and really a lot of people having concerns of how closely their ties are to Russia and Putin. We do have a little bit of a development here. You can see here Turkey's president submits Sweden's bid for NATO membership to parliament. Move comes after months of back and forth with Western countries over new additions to alliance amid war in Ukraine. Turkish President Erdogan has submitted a bill on Sweden's NATO membership bid to parliament after months of back and forth. He told his NATO allies at a summit in July that he would send the legislation to Turkish parliament when it reconvened October 1st, even though well past that, having previously raised objections over a range of security concerns. Since Parliament reopened, however, Turkish officials have repeatedly said that Stockholm needed to take more concrete steps to clamp down on outlaws Kurdistan Workers' Party's armed group, which has been designated as a terrorist group by Turkey. But, not Hamas, who just sent 7,000 missiles to Israel. But on one hand, there is some concern on whether there has been enough destruction in the Israel-Gaza-Hamas war. Has there been enough destruction on both sides? Problem here is that Hamas is still attacking Israel. Israel is still attacking Gaza. The problem here is that if Israel stops, would Hamas stop? And that's the problem. If you've seen my previous video here, I'll link you to that video here now, or you can see it down below in the description of this video, is that could you trust Hamas to never attack again? Therein lies the problem. That's a that's a hard trust, right? That's a hard trust. Um, that's like saying, would you trust Putin to never invade Ukraine again, right? Just like when Russia split up, they Ukraine actually gave back the nukes that were on Ukraine's land, and there was actually a treaty signed with Russia and Ukraine. And when they gave back the nukes that were on Ukraine's land, because Ukraine didn't even have the codes for them, they were back in old Russia or current day Russia, and they gave back the nukes, and they signed a treaty that Russia signed with Ukraine that said Russia would never invade Ukraine for giving back those nukes, because Ukraine didn't have the codes to them anyways, but they had the physical control of the nukes because they were on the land of Ukraine. Russia signed a treaty saying we would never invade Ukraine if you give us back these nukes. Well, how good is Russia's written word? You guys can let me know your thoughts here in the comments. Obviously, their word is not worth very much. This is the problem, right? So a ceasefire, if you don't go and eradicate the terrorists, might not be worth very much. So this is the problem, right? It's like, yes, the destruction, the death and destruction is very, very bad on both sides. Hopefully, all the civilians have left the war zone area, most of them. You know, God help anybody who hasn't left the war zone area. The question is, could you trust the terrorists to not attack again? You guys can let me know your thoughts in the comments. This is the question here. For anybody calling for a ceasefire, you got to really think about that question, right? So I'll keep you up to date. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you haven't yet, subscribe down below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Helps out our YouTube channel, reach new viewers, and helps our channel grow. YouTube's really been stymieing our views here, not pushing us out at all lately, just for telling the truth. It's a sad part of the YouTube algorithm, really. So I'll keep you up to date. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't yet. Click here to see my most recent video here. I was just telling you about really good stuff there in this video. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.